The term pioneer is sometimes used very loosely in music. It's used to really describe a group that has done something or traversed some ground that has been seldom cast or, seldom walked upon. But it's usually one that's used within the context of a specific genre of music. So, for example, a band such as a Cynic or an Atheist was a pioneer considering their infusion of jazz into heavy metal. Something that perhaps may not necessarily be completely true. There may be jazz rhythms that were present before them, but they were ones that really took it over the top. Intronaut have been considered pioneers of some variety, considering no two albums of theirs really feels like the same. Instead, they really aim to traverse some different waters and explore some different sounds with each subsequent release. And here on the direction of Last Things here in 2015, it seems like this group has sort of turned back the clock on themselves and have combined those efforts in order to create a amalgamation of those previous albums on a crafting bench. And the result is something that's, well, relatively superb, that needs to be listened to by just about any music fan, but especially those who enjoy something with some progression to it. This is only about a 46 minute long release, only spanning 7 tracks, so you have an average track time of roughly 6 minutes per, in fact a little bit more, but it's one that is able to do enough to fill your attention throughout that entire scope of time. These are influences that are ranging from the Gojiras, Between the Buried and Me's, Devin Townsends of the world, while also kind of divvying off into something a little bit more slower, a little bit more melodic, something that has a lot more to offer. Considering their last album was a little bit devoid of growling heaviness, it was something that is a bit of a surprise to some individuals that it returned with Fast Worms, the very first track on this disc, and in fact it remains relatively consistent throughout the entirety of the direction of Last Things. This is a side that opts to allow Intronaut to infuse a little bit of heaviness in order to set up that reverse effect, that sort of Jekyll and Hyde effect that allows the softer melodies to sort of form an accent piece, either that or the yin to the opposite's yang. And that's one thing that helps Intronaut deliver very complex organisms in the musical world. It allows them to grow songs in 2 different ways and really throw a curveball that you oftentimes these days will see, considering Between the Buried and Me has certainly popularized the idea of thrusting together 4 to 5 different ideas and combining it together in order to craft something unique. But it's actually just good musical structure. It's just the structure and the development of a movement. Now, the one song that I need to praise on this album is The Unlikely Event of a Water Landing. This is a song that has an exceptionally strange and peculiar title and starts off having a nice, real kind of dense layering to it, but then ends and features throughout the vast majority of its final moments a very hypnotic rhythm that feels very soft, safe, and secure, almost as though they took some cues from what Sunbather is able to do with their gentler tones, and also combining that with the Between the Buried and Me formula of softening the blows, so to speak. It's something that works very nicely at the end of this track and causes it to really fade out with a sort of genteel bliss that really keeps you wanting to come back. The replay value on this track is exceptionally high. The second portion of this disc, the latter half, is certainly one that delivers on many levels, and overall this is a disc that is able to flourish based off of its own creativity. No 2 songs on this album really feel like they are of the same ilk or of the same makeup, even though the real drive, the real passion, the goal feels very much the same throughout, very uniform throughout. It's one that definitely has taken some different avenues in order to accomplish that goal with each of the 7 tracks. And that's the ilk of a strong album. That's the ilk of one that there was a lot of care sort of placed into. There was a lot of design philosophy that was followed. And it's one that worked very nicely. Intronaut further cements themselves as actually true pioneers. Ones that are willing to not only scope out and attempt something a little bit new, a little bit different, and kind of morph themselves, but also one who's willing to reflect upon those different morphologies and allow that itself to be the morphing point for a disc. At least that's how it feels that the direction of Last Things was constructed. Overall, a very strong disc, one that is more so for the instrumental lover as opposed to the vocal lover, considering the instrumental side of this band is the more prominently featured ideal. And actually it works out very, very nicely, because whenever the vocals come in, it's almost like a proverbial cherry on top. This is an 85 out of 100 album. Extremely strong, well put together, well thought out, a simple listen. One where the 7 tracks flowed nice enough together that it feels like one complete experience, as opposed to each track being its own individual experience, which is a positive that very few albums are able to really engage in. But I want to know what you guys think about the direction of Last Things by Intronaut. I want to know what you thought about this album. Let me know in the comments below. And we will talk very, very soon about another album, a massive, huge album that was just dropped as well. One that may take some time just to listen to. One that may take an equal, if not greater, amount of time to review. So you'll want to stick around. I'm coverkillernation, and I'll talk to you later.